Hello, this is Allie with the Perception Trainers, author of The Perception Diet, and today I want to talk about the 3 most common tripping points on the personal growth, self-improvement, kind of lifestyle thing, and how you can avoid them. Okay, so first, what do I mean by personal growth, lifestyle change, da-da-da-da-da? So what I'm talking about here is the 3 biggest things that tend to get in the way when we as humans are trying to improve our life, when we're trying to improve ourselves, when we're trying to change negative thought patterns, trying to change negative behavior patterns, self-improvement, right? So making your life better. And so just to bring it a little bit more into context, I'll give some examples. So for instance, say if you're trying to learn to love your body and you're in right now a cycle of hating your body and you're trying to change that, or you're trying to learn to eat better, you're trying to learn to not be so judgmental of other people, you're trying to learn to become comfortable with abundance, you're trying to learn to become comfortable with your femininity or your sexuality, any of these things where you're currently in a state that is harming your life or making your life harder or less fun, and you are trying to move towards a more positive way of being. So the 3 biggest pitfalls that I see, and this is coming from, of course, personal experience, because I've been through lots of personal growth and change in my life, and I've experienced all 3 of these things. So I'm not pretending like I'm some perfect person that's never fallen prey to these things. I've actually fallen prey to these things many, many times. And that's why I want to bring them up, because awareness is key, right? So it's coming from that, and it's also coming from, working with clients. I've pretty much seen this stuff with everyone that I've ever worked with, and like I said, like once you kind of bring awareness to these things, and once you realize the reality of them, it does tend to be a lot easier to move through them. Okay, so the first stumbling block to personal growth is the I know syndrome. Okay, so I always say that this type of client is like the most dangerous client to work with. It's the client that has heard everything, has been to all these lectures, has heard all these speakers, has read all these books, has been all these places, and knows everything. Okay, and what I want to say is that if you are someone who's caught in the I know it all, I've heard it all, why isn't it actually helping me yet? I want to give it to you in this kind of metaphor, okay? So, because this is usually what's happening, and people don't realize that this is what's happening, but basically with this one, it's that there's a huge difference between knowing what to do and actually doing it, okay? So, for instance, say you want to become a marathon runner. Say you want to get fit enough to run a marathon. Okay, so you can read all the books on marathon running, and you can listen to podcasts of marathon runners, and you can read books on proper nutrition for marathon running, and you can read about proper training, and you can download a training guide, and you can talk to personal trainers, and you can get all of this information on running a marathon, right? And you can know exactly what to do to get fit quickest so that you can run a marathon. But the thing is, knowing how to run a marathon and actually getting up and going on those training runs and taking care of your nutrition and resting and all of the things that you need to do in order to become someone who's fit enough to run a marathon are 2 very different things, right? Sitting there and knowing how to run a marathon is great. I'm not saying not to do your research and not to listen to spiritual teachers and not to listen to self-help stuff, but the thing is, if you don't actually get up and go and run, you're never going to be fit enough to run a marathon, right? And it's the same thing with personal growth and with changing your lifestyle. The thing is, you can listen to a lot of spiritual teachers, you can read all the books, you can you can, right? You can go to all the classes, you can go to all the retreats and da 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 da, but if you never put any of that stuff into practice, it's not going to do anything for you, right? Just knowing about it is only 30% of the battle, okay? So if you're in this category where you feel like you know everything and it's not working for you, I want you to reflect. I want you to say, okay, am I someone who knows all this stuff and feel like I've heard it all and none of it works, but are you actually putting it into practice? Does it maybe not work because you are not working it? Okay, so that's tripping point number one, is being the know-it-all who doesn't actually put it into practice. Okay, second tripping point on getting an improved life is it doesn't feel authentic, it doesn't feel real, it doesn't feel true for me. I tried it twice and it didn't work, so I don't want to do it anymore. Okay, so let's take this back to our running metaphor. So like I said, so say you did all this this work to like understand running, and you did all your research and you know how to do it, and that's really great, and then you're like, okay, I'm not going to be a know-it-all Nelly. I'm going to be someone who actually puts this into practice. I'm going to get out there, I'm going to put on my shoes, I'm going to go for a run. And you get out there for your first run and it feels really crappy. It doesn't feel good. It feels really hard. Your body feels heavy. Your body feels like you don't have endurance. You have to stop and walk every 5 minutes. It's just like it doesn't feel like this like fun gliding, like, oh yeah, I'm a runner now, like let's go. And and maybe you get out there and you feel pretty discouraged because you thought you did all this planning and you thought that you were going to have this fun running experience, and then when you got out there you realized that the reality of it was that you're not fit yet to, and it feels uncomfortable to run, and that might make you want to quit. And it's the exact same thing with personal growth and personal development and changing your thoughts and changing your habits. At first, it's not going to feel good, right? It's not going to feel authentic. It's not going to feel in alignment. It's going to feel like you're lying to yourself. So for instance, if you're trying to change how you feel about abundance, like you know, say, right, like you know why you, like say, your parents always made you feel like abundant, like scarcity was a thing, and your grandparents were all about scarcity, and you just learned about scarcity, and now you have this resistance to abundance. So you like know this, right? And then you find some meditations and some journal exercises to do to turn your thinking around about about abundance, and you know that this path is going to help you, but the first couple of times you do it, you're like, oh, I don't believe this at all. Like you're repeating the mantra, like, I believe in abundance, and it just feels wrong. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel authentic. It feels like you're lying to yourself. And the thing that I'm going to say is like, yeah, of course it does, right? Because in the moment you don't really believe that yet. You don't really have this new perspective yet, right? You don't really have these new habits or these new behaviors yet. You don't actually have the spiritual or the emotional or the mental fitness yet for these practices to feel good. But it's just like running. If you just keep going out there and you just keep doing it every single day, you will eventually get to the place where you're fit enough that running will feel good. And you will eventually get to the place where you are fit enough in your mind, in your heart, in your soul, where these new habits and these new thoughts and these new behaviors feel authentic and they feel good. But if you quit in the beginning because it doesn't feel authentic, of course it doesn't, right? It's not in alignment with what you're doing right now. What you're doing right now, even if it's the most negative thing in the world, so say you like hate your body and your stomach flips over when you look in the mirror and you only think negative thoughts about your body and you're constantly obsessing about how terrible your body is, and then you're like, okay, I'm not going to be a know-it-all Nelly. I've done all this like self-love research and I know what I need to do to become someone who loves their body. Okay, I got that. I'm going to sit in this meditation, say, and I'm going to do this body love meditation, and you get there and it feels like crap, right? It just doesn't feel authentic. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't actually change. It doesn't actually make you feel like you love yourself in that moment. Just keep going, right? Because of course, as negative as the beating yourself up and hating your body is, that's what you're used to, right? That's what you're comfortable with. That's what is in alignment with who you are right now. And when you are trying to grow personally, you are expecting yourself and you are causing yourself to grow beyond the boundaries of where you are right now. And it's going to be uncomfortable. It's not going to feel authentic. It's not going to feel right in the beginning. But that is not an excuse to not do it, okay? So you need to push past that. You need to keep going. And I will tell you that fully and completely from personal experience. When I was back in my anorexic days and my recovering from anorexia days, it didn't feel like the truth to sit in meditation and tell myself that I love my body at all. It didn't. It didn't feel right. It didn't feel like I was being authentic. But the thing was that I just kept doing it and I kept sticking with it, and eventually it started to feel real. Okay? So that brings me to tripping point number 3, and that is I tried it a couple of times and it didn't work. So I gave up on it. Okay, so the last thing that we're talking about is essentially with personal growth and with change and with anything, you just have to stick with it. Okay? So like for instance, talking about when I was in the state of really hating my body and trying to learn to love my body, I found a technique that, say, I had some meditations that I did that would actually, after I practiced them a few times, the meditation would feel good. Okay, so I would actually get to a place where I could feel in alignment with these meditations and feel in alignment with loving my body, and where I could actually feel some shifts taking place. And then as soon as I would be done my meditation, as soon as I'd stand up from my mat, that would all disappear and I'd go back to where I was before, right? And for a while that totally discouraged me. It was like, this isn't working. I can only feel good about my body for those 5 minutes I'm in the meditation, and then for the rest of the day I don't feel good about myself, right? So I kind of thought, well, maybe this isn't working. But the truth is that what it really took for me to get to a place where I actually genuinely, authentically love my body was practice. Just coming back to that place over and over and over again, and giving myself the benefit of the doubt that eventually there was going to be a tipping point that was going to take me over, that I was going to feel good most of the time, okay? And there was going to come a point where the shift was going to happen, and all I had to do was keep showing up, and that was the truth, right? So it's the same thing with our running metaphor. So you know how to run. You get out there and it's uncomfortable the first couple of times, but you just keep doing it. And then you just keep doing it. You just follow the training regimen. You just do the runs even when you don't want to do it. You do the runs even when some days it doesn't feel good and some days it does, and blah, 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 blah. Eventually you get to the point where you'll just realize, like, whoa, I'm actually fit. I'm actually enjoying these runs. This isn't nearly as hard as it was in the beginning, and maybe I didn't even notice when that happened, but now I'm in this place where I pushed through, I kept going, I gave it the benefit of the doubt, and now it works. Because the real secret to change is consistency. Just keep showing up. Just keep doing it. Push through the doubt. Push through the I don't think this is working. Push through the I don't think this is going to work. And just keep showing up. Okay? And eventually it works, because it has to. There's no way that you can continue to run and not get fit and not get fitter and not get better at running. There's just no way that that could happen. And it's the same thing with personal growth. If you keep showing up, there's no way that it can't happen. And finally, I just want to give one more thing, is that if you are fully and completely goal-oriented, and you are just hell-bent on your goal, I just want to say, in the personal growth and all this stuff, if you can let yourself enjoy the journey. So just know your goal is there, and of course you want to get to this place where you love your body. Of course you want to get to this place where you accept abundance. Of course you want to get to this place where you're just happier, healthier, more peaceful within yourself. And yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But if you can also allow the journey to be what it is and to appreciate that journey as you're going along, you may find that it's a lot easier to stick with it when you're not just so stuck on accomplishing the goal, okay? And I just want to leave you with that, because there are so many things on my journey that I never would go back and erase so that I could overnight change how I felt about myself. There were so many beautiful conversations that I had with people. There were so many beautiful meditations that I had. There were so many beautiful realizations that I had. And if it hadn't been the journey that it was, I would have missed out on those things. And I'm so grateful now that the journey was what it was. And so if you can just give yourself permission to experience your journey, I think this whole thing will just be a lot easier. Okay, so those are my 3 tripping points on personal growth and how you can avoid them. Let me know what you think. Comment and like if you like. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.